Yo, what up? Welcome to another episode of the Oakland Warriors podcast. I'm Patrick, and today I'm doing something a little bit different. I have like a new guest. I have Kevin, who actually pinged me during the season out of nowhere. It was like, hey, yo, can I be in your podcast or something like that? And I was like, huh? Like, this is new. So I told him, like, yo, season's kind of busy. I'm doing these game by game podcasts, and I'll reach out and I'll have you on as a guest sometime in the off season and check it out. It's the off season, so here's Kevin. What's up, Kevin?
What up? How you doing?
I'm good, man. It is. I thought the off season would be a little bit light, but with the draft and the lottery, it is actually more intense.
It's heavier than I thought.
Yeah, it's more intense than you would expect. It's actually in a lot of ways more intense than the regular season because there's so many damn opinions. But first and foremost, I want to know about you a little bit. Like, you're obviously a Warriors fan, so much so that you actually pinged me on Twitter. And tell me a little bit about yourself as a Warriors fan. What is your Warriors fandom background? What's it like? What's your story?
So it was actually, I visited my cousin in San Francisco for the first time. I think it was 2009. And then he took me to a game. And I was just shocked by the atmosphere in Oracle. We weren't good back then, as you know. We weren't the golden child per se, but we were a unit. I've watched this core grow up like right in front of my eyes.
You are 27, right? So back
Yes.
in 2009, you were, I'm really bad at math. How old were you in 2009? That was 12 years ago?
12 years ago.
So you were 15.
15.
And were you a basketball fan before that? And did you follow a team, or were you kind of like passively watching, then all of a sudden the Warriors, that experience clicked for you?
I was a basketball fan, but I was more of a player fan, not a team fan back when I was younger. I was a Kobe fan and a Melo fan. I was a huge Melo Kobe fan. Yeah, until I watched Warriors live, like in Oracle with all the crowd. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is something else, huh?
Yeah. So 2009, this was it like late in 2009? Was it the 2009 2010 season? That was Steph's rookie year.
Yes, it was 2009.
Okay, so that was Monte, Steph.
Oh, Monte.
Like, they were wearing the We Believe uniforms still.
Yeah.
It wasn't until the next year that they switched to the current type of uniform.
Yeah.
All right. That's cool. Part of the reason I actually wanted to talk to you and bring you on was like, I'm a little bit older. I won't say how much. And I've been a fan since like I was a little kid, 80s, 90s, the 2000s, and obviously up until now. And like there's a certain mentality you have when you went through like the 80s and 90s and the 2000s, because the Warriors were just like traumatically god awful. And so like you have this mindset, it's kind of pessimistic. It's like, you think about the worst case scenario. You're like, James Wiseman like gets hurt and you're like, he's Ralph Sampson. Or like, oh, we got the 7th and 14th pick. Oh man, they're gonna find like Todd Fuller and Adonal Foyle in the same draft, So I'm just curious because like you came up as a Warriors fan when they weren't that good, but then they started rising within a couple years of you paying attention to them. So when you look at the Warriors, when you watch the season, like, do you have this attitude of like, oh yeah, they're going to figure stuff out, or it's going to end up in a good spot? Or is it more like me? You're like, oh man, this is doom and gloom. This is going to be, we're once this dynasty is officially over, once Steph, Clay, Draymond are gone, we're going to be wandering the desert for 20 more years. What's your perspective?
I'm very pessimistic. It's like, I know about the past, the history of the Warriors organization. It's like, no, I don't want to be stuck in the mud again. It's not fun. Like I don't think like a Laker fan. Like, oh, we're gonna be all right. No.
Yeah, those dudes are entitled, man, or those people are
Uh
entitled.
I I don't think that way.
And do you interact or know a lot of Warriors fans who are kind of like your friends or your, in your age range and stuff like that? Or are you kind of a lone wolf in your crowd?
I do have a lot of friends that are Warrior fans.
And
Yeah.
are they the same? Do they have like this sense of exceptionalism that maybe some casual fans tend to have? Or are they more like realistic? Do they understand?
Some of them like have the same perspective as I do. Some of them are like just, oh, it's all about the core three's prime, Steph's prime. We gotta do everything to get a superstar to help Steph. Fire Steve Kerr. Get a better general manager. It's all those things.
It's really an interesting phenomenon because once they started losing because of injuries, trades, whatever, KD leaving, etc., and then the pandemic hit and there was no basketball, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then I felt like once this season started,
Mm-hmm.
this most recent season, it was like all this stuff that people had built up because they're one, not going to games and they're not getting it out there.
Mm-hmm.
They've been stuck at home for a long time. They haven't watched Warriors basketball. So all of a sudden they just go online on these apps and then they just like start like vomiting all like their issues, all their personal issues in the form of basketball talk. Let me ask you this because we, I guess, met on Twitter. What is your opinion? Okay. And obviously, social media has tons of issues. Twitter
Mm.
has tons of issues. It's filled with like toxic stuff. But like, what's your opinion of Warriors Twitter? Because I don't tweet that often. I don't go on there that often. Um, and I feel like you probably do more stuff on
Mm.
there.
There are a few names on Twitter, the big account names. I'm not going to name drop. I'm not going to name anyone. I think you know who they are. But it's
Maybe,
just
maybe.
it's just, oh, the hot topic, hot player right now, Pascal Siakam. What if we actually did this trade, right? Hypothetical,
Boo.
like we get him, and then he doesn't fit, right?
My personal take on that, oh man, you just opened Pandora's box. My personal take on that is, to me, as a longtime Warriors fan, I want them to be good for a long time. You want them to have chances. I don't want them to dip back into
So the Spurs.
the yeah, the terrible, terrible years. And yeah, they could be the Spurs because they're the most recent example. And listen, like I've read tons of tweets about this. This is one thing I've read about, and I've read like tons of comments. And plain and simple, Pascal Siakam is fine. He's good. He has
Mm-hmm.
better stats. He is quote unquote better than Andrew Wiggins. But is he that much better that you trade James Wiseman and one or two picks and Andrew Wiggins? And I'm like, no. Is he a better fit? He might be better in some areas, but we know that Andrew Wiggins is a good fit. I want to see him with Klay Thompson. You know,
And we have to
uh,
consider that Siakam. Sorry to cut you off, but Siakam is coming off a shooting shoulder injury.
shoulder injury, and he's not back
His shooting
till
hand,
November.
shooting arm. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
why are we even talking about trading for someone that just got out of surgery?
I mean, so you're basically going. You would have no Wiseman, no Wiggins, no extra pick. You wouldn't have Clay in November. You wouldn't have Siakam.
And
Maybe until November, right?
yeah, don't you think
So
Masai is going to ask for a pull?
there's tons of deal breakers for me already
Yeah.
because the thing is, like, what you need to do is you need to think about playoff positioning from the very start, right? So if you're going to be bad in the first part of the season, then you're already digging yourself a hole and you're putting pressure on two guys that would be injured coming back, especially Klay
Mm-hmm.
Thompson. So me personally, I think that you don't do that trade, regardless of if Pascal Siakam is a better player. I don't really care, right? That's not the point. I think he's been a little bit overrated, and I guess the last couple of years he has come down in people's eyes. But also, here's the thing: it's like get those assets, draft a couple of dudes, and if you don't think if Wiseman doesn't show out for the first part of the season, and you want to trade him, I mean, his trade value will not go down from now, right? Unless something
Mm-hmm.
catastrophic happens, another injury. So if he bumps up his trade value and you have these couple of assets, then like save that, man. Save that till the trade deadline. See what you got. You know, you'll get some vets that way if you really want to, or you'll find out
Mm-hmm.
that, hey, Wiseman is actually pretty good and
Mm-hmm.
serviceable. He is getting trashed all over the place, man. People are talking about how DeAndre Ayton was 10 times the prospect. I'm like, this revisionist history is really, really just like, it's frustrating. Yeah, I mean, I guess in terms of Twitter, you just can't take it seriously, right? It's like you have
Mm-hmm.
people that are asking for Kerr to be fired all season long. And then it's like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Like, recency bias. What have you done for me lately? Are you kidding me? Like, that's when I'm like, y'all are spoiled. You don't know how hard this is, and it's not going to be easy forever. So like,
Mm-hmm.
chill, dude.
My thing with Kerr is, well, true. He came in with a core three team, right? So he really never had to coach a rookie. Have you thought about that?
Oh yeah, 100%,
Right? He
100%.
never
Yeah,
had to really develop a lottery pick.
yeah.
This is the first time. Well, last year with Poole and EP,
Mhm.
right? That was the first time he had to actually develop players,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I can say that he's not a good developmental coach,
Sure.
but he's a coach that can take a good team, a great team, over the hump.
Here's the thing: like, he hasn't had to develop somebody. I won't say that he's not good at it. I will say that this was a really, really strange year for everyone. And this particular season for the Warriors, it's like you're about to draft this number 2 pick. Clay tears his Achilles. Your whole plan for the season is screwed. You're trying to, I guess, thread the needle is the phrase, but they're not exactly sure. They're not exactly
Mm-hmm.
sure how to go about this because it is not anything they really plan for. It's a day to day. So, all the stuff about like bench Wiseman, use Wiseman, pick and roll Wiseman, like they have to give it a shot, like certain
Mm-hmm.
things that they want to try out before they switch. And plus the kid was injured for like a huge chunk. And there's
COVID.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
he has no training camp because it's already short, and he's out with COVID, whatever, and then hurts his wrist. I mean, all the stuff that we all know, and I think it would be a huge mistake. My only concern with James Wiseman, and I've mentioned this during the season, it's like we've seen flashes of what he can do. He has that ability. He just hasn't had the reps, hasn't played enough. But my only concern is that like he doesn't have enough dog in him. That's the only concern.
Yeah.
He has to have like he's a nice kid, works hard, meditates, all that stuff. Great, says he speaks Mandarin. I mean, I
Mandarin.
don't know, but that's the only thing because like, does he have that fight, that attitude to really like go after that rebound, to box out that dude, to give this guy an elbow when he's been getting pushed around? Can he fight back? That's the only question I have. Started to see it a little bit here and there during the season, when he had a
Mm-hmm.
couple breakouts.
Mm-hmm.
He's so mild mannered and quiet. Like, that's the only thing. That's like I'm not questioning his like whether he's a good kid, but like that's the only thing I haven't seen yet. The flashes of everything else, I think it's there. Just needs the reps. He'll be serviceable next year. You don't give that up for
Yeah.
pennies on the dollar.
Like he really has to be more aggressive, like both ends, right? And I really think he shouldn't be starting. Like Looney should be our starter because if Joe Lacob wants the Warriors to be like the Spurs, I do think that Wiseman and Poole minutes should be together. Does
Yep.
that make sense? Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Because the age gap between Steph, Clay, and Dre and Poole and Wiseman is huge. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you can put Wiseman and Poole together for more minutes, the chemistry will be there, right? They build a
Mm-hmm.
bond, they build more chemistry. And then 2 years, 3 years from now, you can build around them when our core three ages out, right?
Exactly. And I think that people really, really underestimate what Wiseman can give the Warriors next season. And I'm not here as a homer to say like, oh, he's going to be a multi-time All-Star. He might, who knows? But I'm talking about the talent, the selling low next season, all this other
Mm.
stuff. He can still do all these things. And people are of the mindset that he I mean, I did a podcast episode for every damn game this past season. So I actually watched more
Wow.
games ever in my lifetime. And like, he's good.
He
He
is
can do
good.
these things. There's people that are questioning his hands, questioning his feel. But every time he was just getting better at those things, he got hurt,
People are
So like,
nitpicking on him.
yeah, exactly. And so people are like, oh, he can't rebound. Yes, he can, man. He has good hands, right? People are saying Aiton took Aiton 3 years, and then it's going to take Wiseman 4 or 5 years. Like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Do you think this kid is like a moron? Like, this is not a Donald Foyle. This is not Todd Fuller. This is just not some guy who, yes, maybe he doesn't have like the all the reps that he needs, and that sucks. That's a big problem. Like, not playing for a year and a half, only playing 3 games at Memphis, playing 39 games last season, missing summer league. Those are going to be huge. That's going to set him back. He's not going to be as good next season as he would have been if he had played all those games, but he will be good. He'll be good. He'll be better than like he was last season. And like you said, yeah, don't bring him in the starting unit. Bring
Yeah.
him off the bench. If he hopefully is watching tape, watching what JTA did, playing with Steph towards the end of the season, knowing what he should be doing at that point when he's on the floor with Steph, and then letting him run loose with Jordan Poole, Andrew Wiggins, whomever else, right? Like, I think
Mm.
that is going to be a good play. Assume that the Warriors do stick with both
Mm-hmm.
7 and 14.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Tell me your picks
My
for 7
pick.
14. They're not trading out.
They're not
They're
okay.
drafting these guys. They could trade them at the trade deadline, but
Mhm.
these are the guys that you want them to get.
For the 7th pick, Moses Moody.
Okay.
Yeah.
14.
14. Is Wagner still there? No. If Wagner is still there, I would get
Okay. That's
if he's still there.
those are two solid picks. Sell me on Moses Moody.
3 and D. I love 3 and D players with long wingspans. Tall, not tall, but long, lengthy, able to defend.
Yeah. And then sell me on Franz Wagner.
He is not athletic, right? But watching him in Michigan, he is a high IQ player, right?
Mm-hmm.
Playing under Juwan
Mm-hmm.
Howard, right? Watching them in the tournament. Well, he didn't have the best game. Let's not take that as a one sample size fits everything thing. But he can play make a little bit, defend multiple positions. I really think he could guard 1 to 30. Some small ball 4 and 5, maybe if you put on some more muscle,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then that you get Moses Moody, Wagner, and they get Wiseman and Poole for the second unit, and then maybe some other vets,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Spread the minutes around, see how that goes. I really like players that can play both ends of the floor and pass the ball. Not
Yeah.
like you can't just shot hunt on your own.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind either of those guys. There's like a handful of dudes that are going to be available most likely from 7 to 14 that I can make an argument for almost all of them. And then the hesitation is like basically the same thing for all of them. It's like, but you're not exactly sure. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So let me ask you this question. Is there anyone you absolutely don't want them to pick in that range within reason?
Davion Mitchell.
Yeah. I mean, I think that is fair. I actually don't want them to pick Davion Mitchell 7th for sure. Maybe
No,
14th,
that is
depending on.
too high.
Yeah,
7, too
maybe
high.
14, maybe 14. But tell me why. Tell me what you don't like about Mitchell.
He's 6 foot. he
You can
that
play both ends of the floor. That's your thing.
Yeah, cool. But can he really shoot? What is it in his mid 60s and from the line, from the free throw line? Like, can he really, really shoot, or is that just an outlier year? Or can he really shoot the ball? Can
Yeah,
he do it? Right. I know you have the Mitchell last name, but
that doesn't mean
cool.
anything.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, I have concerns about Mitchell for sure. I would not be upset if they passed him over with both picks. There's a handful of other dudes I would take over Davion Mitchell.
Can we package them and move up? But if you move up to 6, I don't think it's worth it to package both picks to move up just one spot.
I think it is. If Scottie Barnes is there, I think it's worth it. Jonathan Kuminga, if he's there, if he falls, I think it's worth it. But I don't think they would do it because of the win now, the optics, the pressure, all this stuff, right? They wouldn't do it. If Kuminga fell to 7 and they still kept their 14, I would think they would. My desire would be for them to take Kuminga and then balance that out. Take like a win now. Take Mitchell. Take Kispert. Take Duarte. Take them at 14.
That was my question. Yeah.
So like, because it sucks, right? Because like we know you don't pick for need. We've learned that over the years. Everybody knows that. It's like a truism. But just because of this very, 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 very specific situation that no other team has ever seen, more or less, where like you have this championship core and you have a chance to win the title next year and you have 2 lottery picks. We'll see. It's going to be interesting. I'm really looking forward to hearing what happens in like individual workouts or bringing in Mitchell, seeing how he plays against like Book Night or something like that. When they pair these guys up. I want to see how they all do. And that'll tell you about his shooting, right? Will he be able to shoot the lights out in that scenario? How he reacts in the interviews, how he reacts to like the shooting drills you put him through, et cetera, et cetera. Who knows, right? And the question also is like, what you want is, I've heard people make the argument. I talked to people in comments and blog posts about rookies don't make a huge impact in the playoffs. Whatever. I'm not doing the research on that. Tyler Hero made a huge difference, right? Just last year. But to me, it's like, it's not only about the playoffs, right? Like you have an older core. You want guys who can contribute in the 82 games prior to the playoffs. You got to be an 82 game player before you become a 16 game player.
Yeah.
And if you draft like, I don't know, Book Night, right? Like, who knows if he's going to play big minutes in the playoffs? It doesn't matter. But you know that if you lose Oubre, that if Clay is not ready and can't play tons of minutes, you need somebody who can score, then he will help you during the regular season, right? Like, and then fine, ride the pine in the playoffs. But if you can bring in dudes who can help win, contribute to winning in the regular season, reduce Steph's minutes so he doesn't have to like clean up everybody's mess, reduce Clay's minutes so he doesn't have to guard the best guy every game, that kind of stuff, that contributes to winning. That if it'll help you with playoff positioning, if it'll help you with rest and health, because we know health is a big deal now, then that is super duper important too.
Let's not trade both picks and then package them with Wiggins for some player. Let's just not do that, please. Come on.
Yeah, I'm with you. I am very much like, I think a real fan really, really likes homegrown talent. Like, I think there's a kind of strange connection and pride in seeing somebody that you draft and that potential and seeing them come up and do well, right? Like, that's why for me, like the 2015 team is always my favorite. That's why I like the KD years. I mean, he didn't have much joy with those. And to be honest, I didn't have as much either, right? As a fan.
Yeah.
Because it was like, it didn't feel the same, right? So that's why I want to stick with Wiseman. and then draft a couple dudes and see what they can do.
Yeah, watch them grow.
Yeah, unless there's some way to magically get to 4 without giving up the house, then do it.
Yeah.
Like I said, I would trade the 2 picks to get Scottie Barnes. I think that dude is going to be good. I like his engine. I like his vibe. That dude definitely has dog in him. So, all right. Well, that's another episode of the Oakland Warriors podcast. Be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Feel free to hit me up on Twitter at Oakland Warriors. The Oakland Warriors podcast is produced by National Film Society. That's it. Music in this episode provided by Paper Sun. Special thanks to Paul Amardo for production support. See you next time, and go Dubs.